In the heart of the town stood an ancient tree, gnarled and twisted, known as the Witch's Oak. No one dared approach it after dusk, for eerie whispers seemed to come from the shadows. The locals believed it was cursed, a relic of dark magic. On a moonless night, a group of curious teens decided to challenge the superstition. They stood in front of the tree, daring one another to touch its rough bark. As they reached out, the wind grew colder, and a faint voice echoed through the air. The voice sounded distant, but it grew louder, speaking a single word: leave. But none of them moved. Their curiosity was stronger than their fear. The air around the tree grew thick, like a fog was creeping in, but it wasn't fog, it was darkness. One of the teens, Olivia, felt a cold hand on her shoulder and spun around, but no one was there. The ground beneath them shifted, as though something was stirring below. They exchanged uneasy glances, but dared not leave. Suddenly, the ground cracked, and something dark emerged. Roots that had long been buried were writhing like snakes. The teens stumbled back, panic setting in as the roots stretched and curled toward them. Olivia screamed as one of the roots grazed her leg, leaving a burning sensation. The others rushed to help, but they couldn't break free from the tree's grip. In an instant, the tree seemed to come alive, its branches twisting and shaking. The wind picked up again, stronger this time, howling like a beast. The teens scrambled to get away, but the roots pulled them back toward the tree. It was as if the very earth itself was determined to keep them there. One by one, the teens were dragged toward the trunk of the tree, their bodies jerking as the roots tightened their grip. They could hear the whispers again, now loud and urgent: "Join us." Panic set in, and they realized the tree wasn't just alive, it was hungry. The bark of the tree began to crack and split open, revealing dark, hollow eyes. As Olivia was pulled closer, she reached out, her fingers grazing the rough bark. The tree seemed to suck her energy, her vision blurring. She heard the voice again, now clearer. "Your souls will feed me." In a desperate attempt, she managed to break free from the roots, but the others weren't so lucky. Desperate to escape, Olivia ran, but the wind seemed to push against her, forcing her to slow down. The ground trembled beneath her feet, and she stumbled, falling into the underbrush. She glanced back and saw the tree. Its roots were still stretching out like dark fingers, seeking to claim her. She had to warn the others before it was too late. The next morning, the town was quiet. Olivia had returned, but no one else had. The whispers around the tree grew stronger, and the townspeople, once dismissive of the rumors, began to fear the Witch's Oak. It had claimed more victims, and the ground beneath it was no longer solid. It seemed to shift with a life of its own. The townspeople gathered near the tree, determined to end the terror once and for all. But as they approached, the ground cracked open, revealing the remains of the missing teens, their faces frozen in horror. The tree was feeding on their souls, its bark more alive than ever, pulsating with dark energy. They realized that it was too late. A local elder, known for his knowledge of the occult, stepped forward. He muttered an incantation, trying to banish the dark spirit that had taken root in the tree. But the air grew thick with malice, and a terrible growl rumbled from deep within the earth. The elder's voice faltered, and he realized the tree had grown too powerful to stop. The tree's bark cracked open further, and a shadowy figure emerged, its form twisting and shifting, like smoke given flesh. It let out a low, guttural laugh that echoed through the forest. "You cannot stop what has already begun," it hissed, its eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. The elder fell to his knees, powerless against the force before him. In the chaos, Olivia ran to the tree, calling out to the spirit. She knew she had to face it. She was the only one who had survived. She reached out to touch the tree again, this time with a resolve she hadn't felt before. The tree seemed to pulse in response, its dark energy radiating from the trunk. The air became suffocating as Olivia's fingers brushed against the tree's bark. Suddenly, her vision blurred, and she was pulled into the tree. The ground vanished beneath her feet, and she fell into a dark void. The whisper surrounded her, suffocating her, telling her she would never escape. Olivia found herself in a dark, twisted version of the town. The buildings were decayed and the streets were empty. The tree stood in the center, its roots extending like veins through the earth. She realized with horror that this was the spirit world, the place where the tree consumed souls. As she wandered through the ghostly town, Olivia saw the faces of those who had fallen before her, trapped in the spirit world. Their eyes were hollow, their forms transparent. They reached out to her, begging for release, but Olivia knew there was no escape unless she could destroy the tree. Determined, Olivia found a relic buried beneath the twisted roots, a small, silver dagger. She knew it was the key to breaking the curse. With trembling hands, she drove the dagger into the tree's heart. The air around her screamed, the ground shaking violently as the tree's power began to unravel. The tree let out a deafening scream, its branches thrashing violently as its roots recoiled. A blinding light filled the air, and Olivia was thrown backward, crashing into the ground. She could feel the tree's power weakening, but she wasn't sure if it was enough to destroy it completely. When Olivia regained consciousness, she was back in the real world. The tree before her, now still and lifeless. The whispers had stopped, and the oppressive darkness lifted. But as she stood there, she could still feel the tree's presence, lurking in the shadows, waiting for the next soul to claim. The townspeople, who had once feared the tree, came forward to examine it. There was no sign of life, but they could feel the lingering malevolence. The tree had been silenced, but not destroyed. It had only retreated, biding its time until the next unfortunate soul came near. As Olivia left the town behind, she couldn't shake the feeling that the tree wasn't gone for good. She knew it was waiting, its roots deep in the earth, feeding on the darkness of the world. She looked back once more, but the tree had vanished. Only the whispers remained. The legend of the witch's oak lived on, as it always had. Some say the tree is still out there, waiting, watching, for anyone foolish enough to wander too close. And every so often, a dark figure is seen near the forest, beckoning the lost to join the tree in its hunger. Thanks for watching, and do not forget to like, share, and subscribe our channel for more new videos.